Alright, we've got some exciting things going on in the weather forecast today, and it's all because of this low that you see sitting above Texas. That's going to be just bringing in a ton of moisture and fuel and energy from the warm Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to be fueling severe thunderstorms throughout the day today. Some of those thunderstorms could lead to tornadoes and most likely some flooding throughout the southeast. So let's take a look at what's going on right now. You can see that low has moved into Texas. This is early Tuesday morning. And then as it starts to bring in some of that heat and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, you can see that low and these storms are going to intensify. This is about 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and you can see some heavy rainfall already moving into the southeast. It's kind of missing Texas at this point, but northern parts of Mississippi, places in Arkansas, really seeing some of that heavy rainfall, possibly 0.5 inches per hour associated with this thing. And then that's going to move into the southeast and eventually into the mid-Atlantic as well. But let's take a look as it moves into the southeast. You can see hitting northern Mississippi at about 7 a.m. this morning, and then it moves fast. That's the thing about this system. It doesn't just hang out like a lot of those storms that we've seen in the southeast over the past month or two where it'll just be raining for 5 days straight. This one's a quick mover. You can see by 1 p.m. it's already moved into Alabama and Georgia, and then really by 7 p.m. it gets a second wind. There's almost a second wave of heavy rainfall that then moves through Alabama and Georgia again. And then by about early Wednesday morning, this system has moved off. So it's really just throughout the day today, some of those heavy rains are going to be moving in. And really, those heavy rains, the problem with these is we already got 1 to 2 inches yesterday, especially in places like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. All of those places, especially like this entire stretch right here, that already had about 1 to 2 inches yesterday. And then there's another 1 to 2 inches expected today. That's most likely going to lead to some flooding, so that's something to watch out for. The good news is that it moves through fast, so it's not like it's going to be just piling on rain for 5 days at a time. It's going to move through today, possibly lead to some flooding in Alabama and Georgia. Something to watch out for. The other thing to watch out for is tornadoes. And the reason it's likely today, one, there's a lot of convection and available potential energy. That's too sciencey, don't worry about it. This one you can probably understand pretty easily. It's wind shear. Wind shear is what causes these storms to rotate. And severe thunderstorms are bad. You get damaging winds, some hail. But if you have shear in the atmosphere, that means if there's winds going this direction at one level and then winds going this direction at another level, that leads to what's called shear, and it allows those severe thunderstorms to start rotating. That's what leads to tornadoes. And there is a potential for that today. I believe there's a 30% chance of tornadoes in the south and southeast today, and it's because of this change of wind direction with height. So this is showing the upper level winds, and you can see they're basically going straight west to east throughout the day today. So think about that. Up and the very top of the atmosphere, it's going west to east. And then when you look at the lower atmosphere, this is showing the surface, you can see these winds are going from south to north. So you have winds up in the atmosphere going west to east, winds on the surface going south to north. That's going to lead to some shear, some instability, possibly some tornado development. So that's what we're going to be looking at throughout really today and at the start of tomorrow. Really, this evening is the major tornado threat for the south and southeast, and it's because of that multi-directional wind. So that low is, you saw it moved through really the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. So it's also going to be moving through the mid-Atlantic. You can see eastern parts of Tennessee by about 1 p.m. today, really getting some heavy rainfall. That's about those 0.5 inches per hour that we saw moving through upper Mississippi and Alabama. Well, it's going to be working its way into Tennessee, possibly some flooding there. Like I said, they already got 1 to 2 inches yesterday, so you pile on another 1 to 2 inches, that's going to lead to some flooding. You also see that rain start to move into North and South Carolina, and then there's that kind of second wind the storm gets. You see, it looks like this cell is really the only thing, and then that one kind of dissipates, spreads out, makes just smaller rainfall rates for really everybody, and then it re-intensifies. The reason it re-intensifies is really just because of these winds right here. You can see throughout the day Tuesday, the winds are constantly going from south to north. And what that's doing is just pushing all this warm, moist air right over Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. When that happens, warm air rises because it's less dense. There's a ton of moisture, so then that rising air creates clouds, and then it falls as rain. That's why there's even one spot in Alabama where there's a bullseye that could see 3 to 5 inches of rain just today. If that happens, that's for sure leading to some flooding. You can't get 5 inches of rain on already saturated soils and not get flooding. So you can see, it kind of re-intensifies at about 7 p.m. tonight. Remember I said this evening is when the threat for tornadoes are, and then you can see that continues to be fueled, and at this point, some of the winds are starting to actually bring in some moisture from the Gulf Stream as well. So that's why you really start to see these thunderstorms and heavy rainfall rates really spread out and intensify throughout Tuesday evening. And then finally that starts to move off the coast, and you can actually see it works its way into the northeast as well. Well, what's going on in the northeast right now is Winter Storm Quincy is finally moving off. That ended up being a pretty good storm for you guys. I think some places had some record snowfall for the day. I think Albany had about 6 inches. And then places in Maine and New Hampshire got up to 1 foot of snow. So Quincy ended up doing pretty well for you guys. But unfortunately, that one moved through really quick. That one's already gone. And then you don't really have any precipitation until this low moves through the southeast and then works its way up to you guys. We were looking at it yesterday, just deciding if it could move up the coast and do something kind of like Quincy did, bring some snow to you guys. But I hate to break the news, it's not looking too good. You can see by about Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., really just rain working its way into Pennsylvania, and then really all of New Jersey, southern New York, most of Connecticut, most of western Massachusetts, by 1 p.m. Wednesday, just covered in rain. And the reason for that is look at the location of this low. It's already way off the coast. With Quincy, it moved right up and hugged New Jersey, then hugged Connecticut, then hugged Massachusetts, and that allowed moisture to be put into the northeast while cold air was getting pulled down, created just the perfect storm for you guys. Foot of snow in some places. Great to see. This one, however, took a turn. It's going way into the Atlantic, just going straight east instead of hugging the coast, which it would need to do if you want to get any snow. So really just some rain with that one, maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch in some places. The rates didn't really look all that crazy in the northeast. The other huge story going on today is there is a massive heat wave, like a record heat wave working its way into the entire eastern part of the country throughout the day today, and then basically till Saturday evening. It's going to be extremely warm, especially for the southeast, and then the heat wave works its way up into the Midwest and Northeast, 20 to 30 degrees above average. There's multiple cities where their forecasted temperature right now is above their record high for the entire month of March. And the reason for that is what this jet stream is doing. You see right here, this is where I showed the shear because these winds were going straight west to east. Well, watch what happens throughout the week. This jet stream just forms a gigantic ridge. It goes basically from Southern California into the Dakotas and then down to Florida. Just a huge ridge. And what that's going to do is just bring up a ton of warm air and really just really warm air into the south and southeast. And you can see by really Friday and Saturday, that gigantic ridge gets even bigger and then is covering basically the entire eastern part of the country. By Saturday, it's really, really stretched up and allowed some of those warmer temperatures to go all the way into Ohio and Pennsylvania. What's going to be interesting to see is what this trough does as it moves. Let's see if the forecast goes out far enough. Hey, maybe on Sunday, the 29th, could be seeing maybe a storm for the Northeast. That'll be something to keep our eye on. Haven't really looked at it yet, but because that's pretty far out. I usually don't trust models more than about 4 days. But yeah, the big story there is that giant ridge that's going to lead to record temperatures throughout most of the eastern part of the country. This is just a snapshot of what it's going to look like Friday afternoon for the south and southeast. You can see there's some places in Texas that are getting into the 90s, and basically the entire southeast is above 80 degrees. You can see in Arkansas, Little Rock is 82, Nashville is 82, Montgomery is 82, Jackson is 83, and then working into Florida, you see Tampa is 93, or is that an 83? I should probably get some glasses. The big story though is those high temperatures that are going to be working their way into the eastern part of the country throughout the day, really starting today all the way to Saturday. If you want to see a more in-depth forecast of that heat wave, I'm about to film a 10-minute video just entirely on the heat wave. And I'll really dive into the exact temperatures and the record highs that we could be seeing. So if you want to see that, you can subscribe to my channel or you can check out my forecast playlists. Thanks for watching.